Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily calculate streaks in Excel. For this example, I'm going to look at these S&P 500 stocks and find which ones have been high performers by identifying which stocks have been up 50% or more for consecutive years. I'm going to insert a column here next to the year-to-date field, and I'm going to call it streak. Up above, I'm going to set my threshold, which is 50%. The idea being is I don't want to hard code this into my formula. I want to be able to easily change it right here if I need to. So if at a later point I decide I want to look at just stocks that are up over 30%, maybe 20%, whatever the case may be, I can just adjust it right here without adjusting my formula. So as for the formula itself, what I'm going to do is use the match function. And for the lookup value, I'm looking for a 0 value. And the reason is I'm going to set up criteria here that I'm looking for. And the point of this is to either return a value of 1 if the criteria is met or 0 if it hasn't been met. So with the match function, I'm looking for the first time the criteria isn't met. So when the streak would have been broken. So the further along in my data set that it goes, the longer the streak has been going on for. So for my formula here, I'm going to use an if function to say, is it a number? First of all, because there's some stocks that weren't around 10 years ago. So I want to make sure that it's checking to see if there's a number, first of all, in this data set. So I'm going to start with the year-to-date field going all the way back to 2016. So the first thing is checking if it's a number. Then what I'm going to do is multiply this, because what I'm doing is applying a second criteria to this as well. And here I'm going to look at the same range. And now this time, what I'm going to do is compare to see if this is greater than my threshold amount, this 50%. I'm going to lock that cell by pressing F4. So now that's going to stay intact, and close this out. So that's my criteria. And then comma to say if it's true, return a value of 1. If it's not true, if it's not met, then return a value of 0. And then for my match type, I'm looking for an exact match. I'm just looking for a 0. I'm going to close this out. And so this returns a value of 1, even though ticker A, year-to-date return, is just up 7%. And that's because the streak was broken on the very first instance. It found that 0 on that first instance. So in this case, what I want to do is subtract 1 from this as well, just to make sure that if the streak is 0, it is indeed 0. I don't want to have a bunch of 1s in there when that's not really the case. Now I'm going to copy this all the way down. And so the first hit I've got is AMD. So it's up 92% year to date. So that's 1 year where it has met that criteria. So not much of a streak, but nonetheless, it's met my criteria. If I scroll down, I'll see other values. Now, this is a bit not ideal to view the data like this. So what I'm going to do is apply some conditional formatting. I'm going to select this entire column into conditional formatting, create a new rule. I'm going to select this second option that says format only cells that contain something. So cell value is equal to just 0, because I want to filter out these zeros. I'm going to apply some custom formatting, and I'm going to go to the number option under custom and just put 3 semicolons. And by doing so, that tells Excel don't apply any formatting to these cells. So now it's a lot cleaner and easier to identify which stocks have streaks of at least 1 or more. And obviously I could also do the filter option here. So if I click on my filter option and select streaks that, let's say, are at least 3 years in a row. So we've got AppLovin, we've got GE, we've got Robinhood, Palantir. So we've got a lot of the big players, a lot of the most popular stocks on the S&P 500, and you can see their returns. So 120%, 340, 167%. So obviously streaks of 3 years. 2022 was a really bad year for the markets. So not surprising that the streaks all basically ended back then, and they started in 2023. So as you can see, a really easy way now to create these streaks to see how far back they go. By going in the reverse order, where you're looking for the first time it was broken, it's a lot easier now to set this up. Now what we can also do is apply conditional formatting to this entire range of cells to make it easier to see where they've met that threshold of being over 50%. So if I select my data set here, go all the way to down, and go back to the conditional formatting. This time I'm going to apply it starting from C3. So create a new rule, use a formula, and I'm going to say if C3 is greater than $B$1, which is where I've got my cutoff, my threshold, then I'm going to click on Format and apply a dark green fill color and a white font. Click OK. And now you can see now it's a whole lot easier to identify when these stocks met that threshold. So even though they may not have streaks, I can see historically when they were over that threshold. And by setting it up this way, it's a lot easier now to make changes. Like I said, if I want to set the threshold to 25%, it's a lot easier now to update this on the fly and easily identify those trends. So by doing it this way, using a combination of conditional formatting and just the match and is number function and the if function, we can combine all this into one easy to use formula. And all you need to do is really just set up your logic in this middle argument here where we've got the lookup array. That's where you're doing your analysis, you're checking for your criteria that you're looking to be met. And if you've got multiple conditions, you can multiply them because they turn into a series of zeros and ones. So if the criteria is met, you'll get this value. If it's not met, it's this one. And by looking for zeros, it's a lot easier this way than trying to see if it was met this year, and then if it was met this year, and so on. It's a lot easier just to do the opposite and look for the first time that criteria isn't met. So the further along in this range that it isn't met, the longer that streak is. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.